Alrighty, so welcome back for another episode of Group Views It All. On this one, I am going to be talking about the flowers in the attic, the origin. It is a series that they're doing. If you are a lifetime movie head, you are probably familiar with the flowers in the attic and all of the other movies that they did pertaining to those the books. I think it's VC Andrews, if I'm not mistaken. Don't hurt me if I got the author wrong, but um, it it's a 2 hour show. I can tell you that. Right now, the latest one that just aired, which they aired on a Saturday, was yesterday, and it was tied. This was part three, so I've been watching every week from the first showing, from the first one that they aired. This one is part three, titled "The Murderer." Um, I decided to go ahead and do a review on it because I am so into this show. I've been into the movies because it's just so like wow, it's so out there, and I've been following it for years. Every time it's a new one, the installment, I watch it. This is something that me and my mom we watch together. It's our little thing, so we watch that together every Saturday. Um, this freaking series, the origin, I am so glad that they did it because it does give us the backstory on where everything came from and how it trickled down throughout the family history within the intertwining of their relationships and basically incest relationships um, that brought on offspring. And it continued, and it was like a plague within the family. So I'm gonna stick to part three. I'm not gonna go back to part one and two. If you haven't watched it, please go start there. Go back and watch part one and part two. You do have to give yourself time to watch this because again, it is 2 hours long. All right. I I scrunched it on down into the best way that I could because I mean seriously, 2 hours long, y'all. I can't. I'm not gonna do a whole hour review on this. I just I'm gonna go off of what I remember because I didn't take notes at the time that I was watching it. So I'm basically going off of what I recall from yesterday. So they started off. They have Alicia Foxworth showing up to years later. Corinne is an adult. Well, not an adult, but she's a grown. She's grown up. Um, and basically, Alicia comes back. They don't in, they don't introduce those two. So she comes in. She talks to Olivia and Malcolm, basically letting them know, like, hey, this is what's been going on over the years. She's basically saying, she's sick, she has cancer, so she knows that when the time comes, it's probably going to be sooner than later. She's asking for them to step in and take over with Malcolm because he is in the process of um, going to school to become a doctor. And she's asking, hey, could y'all please step in and um, pay for his, take him in. And she had to be desperate at this point to want to send her son back to this household, like for real. Take him in and pay for his schooling. At that time, I don't recall Malcolm actually giving her an answer. I don't recall that, but maybe they did, and they had a plan for when that time came. Um, I had to really, really say this out loud to really put it to my mind. So, Christopher is Alicia's son that she had with Malcolm's father, right? So, in this case, that makes Christopher the half brother to Malcolm, right? And I'm gonna stop right there, and we're gonna wait till I get to the next little part, and I'll elaborate where I'm going with that. So that's what happened with that. Now, at some point, we have Joel come in with his scene. He is still exploring the relationship with the guy that works for the Foxworths. Um, back then it was already frowned upon to be a homosexual, and then also to have a interracial relationship was also frowned upon as well. But this is the scenario that Joel found himself in because he gravitated towards this man, right? And I don't remember his name, so I'm sorry about that. But so Joel, he insisted on continuing to keep playing this piano that Malcolm clearly was very annoyed about, and he had this thing about, but Joel did it anyway. Joel was sitting at the piano room. He was playing the piano. He opened the window purposely to lure the young man to say, "Hey, I'm down here. Come, come meet with me." So they meet up. He's sitting at the window playing for him, playing the piano, and they're discussing, their future, what they would like to do. Saying that you could go off with me, we could be who we want to be. How and Joel's just like, okay, well, how are we gonna live? How are we gonna survive? He said, I'm gonna work jobs. You can find a place to play the piano. Joel ends up giving him a watch as a gift and says that this is a gift for me so that you'll know and you'll be able to know the time to meet with me. Now, at this point, I'm just like, okay, first of all, the father, Malcolm, has already said he doesn't want to hear that piano playing. That's the first thing. Second thing, y'all are sitting in that living room, and then he comes through the window, sits next to him, and they're talking, having a moment. They end up kissing. And what do you know? Here comes Malcolm bursting through the door, and he catches them kissing. And we knew immediately that it was about to be something. Malcolm turned around and walked out and went to go in on Olivia, which I'm like, okay, regardless of what your son's sexual preference is, that's his sexual preference. Nothing is wrong with that. Secondly, but the fox worth the name, they hold it to a high standard, and you are, for them, they frown upon it, right? For him to blame the upbringing of the children, the boys, on Olivia is so trashy to me because you wanted nothing to do with your children. Joel was going to be who he was regardless of whether Malcolm was involved in his life or not. But the way that your children were raised, you literally clearly had no type of relationship with them. Their relationship was with their mother, right? I don't know if that's something that stemmed down from Malcolm's father. Um, I really don't. I don't know, and it could be, but it is. That's that. Now, Malcolm ends up having the police to show up to the property and go arrest the young man and bring him to the front of the manor. They all come down, minus Corrinne, to see what was going on. And of course, that man's his family, they all came like, I'm gonna follow them. Because I was very much like, oh my gosh, like he's about to have this man taken and have him taken out. All right. Which it didn't happen. But he basically told them that he stole from them and that he's a thief, and that's why he wanted the police to come and get him. They're all standing there, and they find that he has that watch on. I really truly hate, and I was so angry that Nella was asking for Olivia to speak up, and she stood there in silence, like, girl, get it together, Olivia. You got to be strong in there dealing with Malcolm. Secondly, Joel stood there in silence and fear of Malcolm and what would happen, what was about to happen to him. That he didn't say not one word. He didn't stand up for that man. He didn't say, no, I gifted him that watch. You didn't have to say what your relationship was. You could have just said, no, he did not steal that. I gifted that to him. That is why he has that watch on. You didn't say nothing. And that was so terrible. And they stood there and they beat that man and they took him off and beat him some more. And it was so sucky to see. I was very angry at that scene. I really was. It was just sucky. But anyway, now eventually they did get the word that, because everybody that went on about their business, Malcolm, he ends up to getting the watch back and he smashes it in front of everybody and just walks off like, oh, whatever. Like honestly, for Nella, she's in a terrible situation because that Malcolm is paying for the daughter's schooling. So that is why she's holding on. that's got to be tough. You know what I'm saying? You have to make the decision, especially in that time. Like, how is they going to pay for that girl to go to school and make more of herself than the life that Nella has, right? But anywho, they find out that Alicia, she did pass away. So they know that Christopher is basically on the way to come to the manor. Um, the first person to come in contact with Christopher was Corrinne. They met. They ended up meeting in crossing paths in a clothing store. It seemed like they were getting fitted for their something she was there for, probably for her ball gown for her debutante ball, and then also Chris was there to get a new outfit to present himself to the Foxworth, but they did not know that. They did not know that they were related to each other. Um, and there it begins because immediately when they met each other, it was like an instant flirtatious thing going on right there. Now, Christopher eventually does come to the manor, and gets to meet everybody, and that's when Corrine realizes who he is. Even at that time, she still had this way about looking at him, and I was just like, Corrine, well, hey, what's happening, girl? As soon as you realize that they said, hey, this is your uncle, uh, all of that should have went away. It really should have. Like something should have clicked in your brain. Like, ew, okay, ew, I can't believe this. Like, why did y'all? Like, I would have. She could have voiced that opinion, but she decided not to say anything and act as if that's how they met. I think, if I recall properly. Let me know if that's not how that happened. Just let me know because I'm not going off the top of my head. Um, Now, Malcolm, as they're sitting at the table, they're talking, going over things. He's saying hello to everybody. Joel has an attitude. He's mad about what happened the night before. Corrine has no idea what's going on. She has to be little Miss Snoop. She has to snoop around to get information around that house because they never want to let her know anything that's going on. Um, Malcolm is being very rude, and I'm just sitting there and I'm looking at everybody, and I'm like, okay, Malcolm, that is your half brother, right? Okay, that's one. Corinne, technically, that is your uncle, right? Okay. Malcolm, no. Christopher and Corinne, or technically, they are brothers and sisters. Brother and sister. Because their mother, because of their mother. Her daddy is Malcolm. Corinne's daddy is Malcolm, correct. Christopher's father is the other Mr. Foxworth. That right there was already too much to even put in the mix because not only is Christopher Corinne's uncle, he is also her brother as well. Well, that's a lot to take in right there. That's a lot. All right. But anyway, Malcolm is rude. He pretty much let him know, like, oh, this is not no handout. You come in here, you gonna work. And I'm like, Malcolm, that is your brother, but that's your brother, man. Like, but look at how he was with the father. I mean, I guess you couldn't really expect too much out of Malcolm anyway. But yeah, he's basically just like, no, you're gonna have to work. And then he's thinking he's about to be working, and obviously like, nah, you're gonna do some work around his house. That was very rude. Anyway, now Malcolm goes to go visit the doctor because he wants to arrange for Joel to go away to be cured for homosexuality, right? Which, if you know some history, that these are things that happen for real, in real life. They were sending them away to cure them. Really, they were giving them these people shock therapy, and some people actually perished because of it. And it's sick. It really is. Um, I think that Malcolm knew what all of that entailed, but he did not tell Olivia everything that this place did. They didn't even allow Joel to say goodbye to anybody. They made him pack his bag. They made him leave in the night. He didn't even get to say bye to his sister. He didn't get to tell nobody where he went, but he did write a letter to that boy. He did do that. And he actually assisted with making sure that that boy was able to be released back to his family. So that was very cool. I think Joel only did it because he was feeling guilty. That's the only reason. Anyway, moving on. Now, um, if y'all noticed, when they went, we found out that Miss Steiner, she ended up working for the doctor. I don't know if I missed something where she got fired. I do not recall that part, but clearly that's what happened. She's a little sneaky little thing because she knew that she needed to get into that doctor's office. And while how she did that, she got a job at the doctor's office because a lot of stuff that goes under the table with the Foxworths, that doctor has the documentation on it or he knows about it, right? So Miss Steiner is the working there. Malcolm doesn't even pay. He pays her dust. Moving on. Um, let's see. She eventually, and Miss Steiner, gets access to the file cabinet that the doctor has been keeping on the Foxworth, what he's been doing for them. She finds out all the information about what only Olivia and Malcolm know, and she starts blackmailing them. And I'm like, okay, Miss Steiner, you are so angry. Why are you angry with Olivia? That same energy that you're giving Olivia, why you didn't go to Malcolm with all of this whole blackmailing stuff? Because I don't think something it wouldn't have went the way you thought it was gonna go, but you knew who to go to. You ran right to Olivia to get something started. But I already knew that when she did that, that her future it wasn't gonna be too long, like for real. Anyway, now Corrinne and Christopher they figure out where Joel is and they finally tell Olivia, which she knew where he was, but she didn't know what they did. When she found out by way of Christopher exactly what that place does to people to cure them, she went to go see where her son was and to see what was going on with her son. And when she saw him, her heart just dropped. That lady pulled out a stack of cash and that doctor told her no, Malcolm Foxworth, he's the only one that's able to sign Joel out. And she said, with that stack of money, she said, you're going to take this money and I'm taking my son and you're going to keep this between us. And she took Joel out of that place. They was giving that boy shock therapy and he was, oh my goodness, barely holding on to life. Um, but after she gets Joel, she takes him back to Nella's place where they stand, asking for their help. And I'm just like, here you go again, asking for Nella's help. But when Nella is reaching out to you for help, you want to act like you quiet. You can't say nothing in front of Malcolm. You don't have no voice. You don't have nothing about yourself. But here you are standing in front of her, asking her to help you with your son. They went on and took him in anyway, only because Joel helped get that boy out of jail and saved his life in the end because I think something bad would have happened to him for real. So they're hiding him out in their place, taking care of him, getting him back to life. I mean, the shock therapy was so bad, it made it to where Joel was having seizures just out of nowhere. So I was questionable if he was even going to make it. But he did. He did pull back. He got himself together. So now, while all of this has been going on, Olivia and Corrine, they end up getting into it, having a little disagreement. Corrine runs off. She gets on her horse. She runs off. Little did she know a storm was brewing and was coming through. So somewhere throughout that, the horse probably got scared from the thunderstorm, and threw her off, and she ended up injuring herself because the horse was nowhere near her, and they didn't see the horse at all when they were out looking for her. Um, of course, I thought it was kind of strange how she, right as somebody's getting ready to come find her, all of a sudden she starts moving around. By the time Christopher gets to her and comes up to find and sees her on the ground, she's already moving. And I'm like, ma'am, how long have you been down on that ground? You wasn't able to get up and sit up, at least sit up. But okay, we gonna roll with it. We gonna keep going with what they gave us. They're out. He's not on a horse at this point. So I'm like, was he on foot that whole time? But okay, anyway, maybe he got off the horse, put the horse and let the horse go. I'm gonna keep going with what they gave us. Let me not do that. Now, Corrine has Christopher to take her to a nearby chapel that she knows of because her and her brothers used to go there to get away from the manor. Um, and that's where they spent a lot of their time. So she had him to take her there to get out of the storm while they waited for help. Now he put that light out there as a beacon so they knew to come over there right whenever they saw it. But while they're there, they're sitting there talking. He's patching her up. He lets her know, like, no, I'm not a doctor, but I'm in training. I'm in school to become a doctor. I'm in training. At that point, those two passed the line that they shouldn't have. So even with them knowing that they are related, they don't know that they're brother and sister, but you know that your uncle and niece, y'all kissed. And it was from both sides. It wasn't one sided, it was both sides. They both wanted to. As they're doing this, here comes everybody else, and Malcolm and them are coming. I cringed and I was like froze kind of because I was like, oh my gosh, why are y'all doing that? Like anybody could walk up on y'all at any time, and this is not gonna go good. But they pulled away from each other by the time that Malcolm and everybody else comes around to come into the chapel to see about her. So scoop her up. They take her back to the manor. Everybody's good. Malcolm, he ends up being so grateful for Christopher for finding her and getting her, and taking care of her until they came, that he basically said, now you're not going to work for me. You good, and your schooling is paid for. You're good. You no longer have to work to earn your keep. So everybody goes off. They go to bed. As Christopher is going to his room, Corrinne is standing there. I didn't realize that that was his room that she was standing there. I thought she was just standing outside of her room waiting for him to come upstairs to just kind of catch him and just kind of speak. She seemed like she was ready to take it there. But with everything that happened and with that last little conversation he had with Malcolm, I think it kind of brought him back to reality to realize, hey, no, we cannot do this. I cannot do this. He shuts it down, goes into his room, closes the door, and you hear the lock because he is now trying to let nothing more go, and he knew to lock that door. So they let it go for that. Let me see what else I remember. Now, we know that Corrine is planning this debutante ball, right? Malcolm, of course, he wanted to be her first dance, but no. I'm really curious as to how all of the little things that he does towards her, how she doesn't feel a little off about that or get some kind of weird vibe from her that's from your father. It's like, girl, you ain't feeling a little weirded out. She basically ends up wanting because she's trying to distract herself from her feelings for Christopher was brewing there. She goes back to reach out to the guy that she was actually pregnant by. Was underscore that underline was pregnant by, and that just brought on a whole nother thing with her. Basically, she was pretty much ready to just go with this guy. Nobody's happy about that. Not even Olivia. She's not happy because she knows, like, Corrine, you don't really love that man. That's not the route you want to take. Which eventually Olivia ended up telling her that I see it in your eyes. You do not love that man. You don't just go for what you think is going to give you the life that you think you want. Basically, in a sense, she's basically saying, like, girl, don't be a me. That's basically what she was saying. Let's see. Okay, now we do get to the scene where Joel he's back, able to move around, able to speak. He sneaks back into the house, expecting because during the day, for the most part, Malcolm is gone off to work. Right, he's not at the manor, so he sneaks in to go pack his bag because he's about to leave town, get out of there. Packs his bag. As he's leaving, he stops and he looks at that piano, and I knew instantly. I said, dude, don't go in that room. Get out of there because you don't know if Malcolm is going to come back early from work. You never know. You don't even know if he's there. That manor is so big. You wouldn't know if he's there or not unless you physically saw him leave and you're watching that door and saw him come back. What do you know? He decides to go in. Joel Sits down, starts fiddling with the piano, and here comes Malcolm, not realizing that that was Joel in there, about to go off on whoever was playing that piano, and he realizes that it's a Joel. And his first question is, "How are you here? Who helped you get here? How did you get out?" He had this man by the throats. Okay, I was just like, "Oh my goodness, Joel, fight back, stand up for yourself." In comes your mother running in to save you. You're a grown man. Your mother is coming in to save you, and she admitted, "I got him out." And she's basically saying, "Did you know what they were doing to him in there?" Malcolm don't care, girl. I don't know why you're trying to explain nothing to him. He didn't care nothing about those sons of his. He really didn't. He only wanted a daughter. You know that. Joel as he gets distracted by Olivia, Malcolm gets distracted by Olivia. Joel grabs that bag and runs on down there, and she gets him on out of there and makes, "Hey, go outside, wait for me, I'm coming." Addresses her and Olivia and Malcolm. They address each other. They go off. He blames Olivia for everything that has been going on. Says everything she touches turns to dust, or is destroyed, something of that nature. She flips the script and said, "No, sir, it's you." He gets so angry that he puts his hands on her and knocks her down to the floor. In the process, she does knock down what looks like a dress. Comes to find out that was Corrinne's debutante ball dress, um, which apparently was ruined from her knocking it down. Um, and then he storms out. And I'm like, "Joel, your mother basically took a hit to the face for you." But she gathers herself. She goes and sees her son off, forget his inheritance about him being taken out the wheel. He doesn't care anymore. She gives him a ring that's probably worth a good chunk of money to help him get by or to live off of, to get him started at least. I mean, I don't know. Back then, price ranges on things is different. Um, and him and that boy, they end up actually leaving together. So Joel, you got away. We're gonna see what happens with the series when it comes to Joel. We don't know if he's gonna come back around or not. Um, so that was that part. Now we get to why did I do that? We get more into Corinne, Malcolm, Olivia, and Christopher. Um, because Corinne's dress is ruined, he let her know. He says, "But I have something for you. It's okay." He goes and gets one of his mother's dresses for Corinne to wear. He basically had Corinne looking like his mother. That lets you know that something was off about his obsession with his mother. As we know, we already knew that if you watched the first part, then you know something was off about that. This girl, as with the whole as part of the decor, he had the whole portrait of his mother in that same gown. The hair was even almost the same. She's blonde. I mean, something was just it was a weird vibe going on. When they did the presentation for her coming down and he introduced her and did all of this, the way he caressed her face and had his finger by her lip, did that not give you weird vibes, Korean? Like, and did that not make everybody else who was watching, make them feel a little weirded out? Um, that was just, it was strange. I mean, we even got the clip where they took the portrait away. Malcolm was in there basically just in awe over this portrait of his mother, but in a very weird way. Um, Not so natural way. Let me say it like that. A not so natural way. Now, Miss Stein is there at the ball. And we know why she's there. She's there to collect. She's there to collect. She lets it loose about everything that she knows about them. And Olivia is in a panic. You see it on her face. It's like, "Girl, do you really smile? Like, your face is always cringed up, always looking angry, always looking worried, always looking scared. Like, goodness." She has Miss Stein go to meet her in the office. She's trying to get a hold of Malcolm so he can come in to speak with her about what's going on so they can get some understanding. So she locks her in their little office thing, which was like a hidden little office. I thought that was actually cute, side note. But locks her in there to keep her in there while she goes to go get Malcolm. Now, at this time, the first dance is going on. Malcolm has talked to that boy that was supposed to be the first dance for Corrinne. And the boy tells him, "Hey, I would like to speak to you. I would like to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage." Uh, you must. They don't know. They don't know about Malcolm. He takes that boy out, and we don't see him again. Okay, we don't see him again. Um, Christopher ends up stepping in because the guy was gone, and Malcolm hadn't returned yet. So Christopher goes steps in to do the dance, and they have their little talk, whatever. Christopher almost comes out off a little jealous, but I think more so for him, it was like, okay, yeah, we it's some weird energy going on between me and you. However, don't just go for this guy just because I'm telling you, there's nothing that's happening here with me and you. You know what I'm saying? Don't just pick no any old person, because he did overhear the boy telling Malcolm that he wanted to ask for her hand in marriage. So that's going on. Malcolm comes back. He did look a little bit jealous, kind of sort of to me. Y'all let me know what y'all thought if he did. But Christopher in the end ended up spinning her off into the arms of Malcolm, and his face lit up, of course. He's so obsessed with Corrine, honey. Um, Now, Corrine finds out that he did dismiss him, got rid of him. Um, and Malcolm basically told her in her ear, "You belong to me." So that's letting you know, Korean, he's not trying to allow you to be with no man, only with him. He wants to be the only man in your life. Again, another red flag. Everybody's looking. Olivia is looking, and she understands that something weird is going on there, and he's looking at his daughter in the wrong way. Um, but I'm like, how is nobody else is seeing this at the party? Nobody realizes that something's a little off about that. But anyway, um, so that is what happened. Um, mm, 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 mm. Now, at some point, while Corinne goes off or whatever, whatever. So Malcolm and Olivia, they finally get a chance to speak. She lets him know that she knows everything, okay, and that she got her locked up in the thing. She goes while Malcolm is on the way back with the money. She goes to go talk to the ladies. She done sat in there and drank that whole bottle of champagne, and she is tipsy. So she gets to talking, running off at the mouth, saying whatever, whatever. She's about to walk off, and Olivia goes to grab her, I believe, and she falls and hits her head, okay, knocks her out. I don't know at that point if she was already considered deceased, but Malcolm comes in, he sees what happens, he instantly closes the door, puts that money in his pocket, comes over, stops her from calling the police or the doctor, 911, whatever, and finishes the job to make sure them lips stay sealed. Okay, they put her away until the end of the party. Malcolm, if you ask me, he looked like he already knew what to do with the dead body. I'm just saying. But they eventually, the two of them, they removed her body from the property once the party was over and everybody was gone. Everything was shut down, lights out. Um, Buried her on the property. They have a moment, and it was a weird moment to where he gave her some type of emotional response, and not in a negative way. Eh. They kissed in I don't know how long, and I'm almost wondering, like, girl, the last time that he kissed you, was that when y'all got married? Just saying. Um, Lets her know, hey, I got this. Go ahead and go get you some rest. He takes over and finishes the job. As Olivia is going upstairs, she hears something down the hallway. She recognizes which room it's coming from, but she knows that Malcolm is outside burying that body, so she's wondering what the heck is going on. She realizes that there's some sexual sounds going on, walks to that door, and she's freezing because she's wondering what is going on behind this door, and I hope it's not nothing terrible. So she doesn't open it at this point. She looks in the keyhole and she sees Olivia. She knows it's her. No, she sees Corrine. Olivia knows it's her. She sees that she's with a man. She didn't realize who that man was until something happened in the scene where you could see Christopher. And when I tell you, her eyes grew a big because it was like, OMG, girl. One, that is your uncle. You are his niece. Two, that is your brother, and you are his sister. And y'all two don't even know it. And y'all are in here doing things that some grown people agree to do with each other. Um, that right there was like, oh my God, no, Corrinne. Oh my goodness. The crazy thing is, nobody forced those two together. They naturally drew to each other in a frowned upon way. Incest relationships, it is frowned upon for the most part. It just is. This is a touchy thing to talk about when it comes to, the intertwinings of families, because we know there's a history of that going on back then with the royals. Everybody's all kind of intertwined within each other. Um, OMG. And I'm just like, okay. So that was where they ended it. But then, of course, we get the clip for what's going to be the next episode. On the clip, I do see that Corrine, no, that Olivia is walking into the room. So I'm assuming that she did open that door. Secondly, I thought, how strange of it, Corrine, that y'all went into your grandmother's room, the swan bed. Oh, Lord. Um, I am like, okay, so now we need to see what's gonna happen from here moving forward. What's gonna happen? Is Malcolm gonna find out? I believe the two of them. We did see a clip where the two of them, Christopher and Corinne, they ran off with each other, and they had a home. And I saw Corinne with a baby. I wonder if they are going to find out that the both of them are actually brother and sister and not just uncle and niece. Um, like I said, this is a really, really good freaking series, and it was needed. We needed to get the backstory. For those of us that don't read the books, we needed to get the backstory on how all of this started and how deep it is within that family's history. Foxworth. Um, Super good. Oh my OMG show. I mean, let me know what y'all think about this show. I will continue to watch it because I want to know what's going to happen next. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll keep the videos coming if y'all like it. Um, I mean, seriously, I do highly recommend watching the show. But like I said, don't start right here at part 3. Go back to part 1 and start there before you get to part 3 if you haven't watched them already, because you will have missed something and you will have to try to figure out how we are where we are right now on part 3. But yeah, thank y'all for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell button, and you will be notified by YouTube when I post another video. Thank y'all and have a good day. Bye, y'all.